Good evening everyone, welcome to day 2 of the 40 Days of Hope. Today's message is quite a strong message, one that I have been the most nervous about, kind of shaky here. You know, it's a message of hope for anyone who's really lost their job, anyone that feels, you know, after all these furlough schemes are over, where do you stand? You just feel so insecure. Maybe you're too afraid to share with your partner how worried you are because you don't want to be worrying them. You know, I just want to read a verse from Luke chapter 12, verse 22. It says, "Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, or what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens, they do not sow or reap, they have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them.'" And you know, the first thing that comes to my mind when I read a verse like this, and often when I read the Bible, and many of you might be surprised, is I have a question. I question God. I say, God, what about children in famines and in wars where this isn't a reality? And you know, I bring those questions to God and I mull them over and talk to other Christians, and you know, we get answers to an extent, but they're not fully, we can't understand these things. I just believe I can't understand these things fully this side of eternity, but one day we will understand more fully. But from personal experience, I'd really like to encourage you today that I know this to be true from the stories I read in books, from my own personal experiences and others in my church and in my family. Such specific prayers answered with regards to provision. Now I feel that this is what I don't want to do, but I just feel very strongly that if those of you that are needing this hope out there are to have the faith that the God in this book is can move. I have to be quite vulnerable, and I have to tell you about my finances up till 2 weeks ago. All right, so last year our car just broke down, Mark and I, we had to spend our savings on a new car, and you know, we actually had to use a credit card to pay the end part of it off. And yeah, we just said we get it paid off in a few months, be fine, put a little bit aside each month and we start saving again, but that wasn't the case. It's been the last few months have just been bill after bill, unexpected bill, you know, lots of things in the house going wrong, you know, leaks in the ceiling and a lot of appliances breaking all at the same time. You know, cars, sometimes they just eat up money, you know, new tires, you know, just one thing after the other. And this credit card, you know, it just kept getting deeper and deeper, and then I finally felt, you know, after about 3 weeks ago, I finally felt that we were maybe getting on top of it. And then, you know, our boiler broke and leaked all over the electrics, and you know, our 2 cars broke down. This was 3 weeks ago, guys, and we were actually scammed 300 quid from our debit cards. Thankfully we're getting all that back. And I was like, okay, so this is where I was at 2 weeks ago. And you know, I went to pray and I said, God, who's the next message for? You know, I felt the first message was kind of an introduction for the Bible. And I felt really strongly that night for people who are needing financial security and who are in that place. And you know, I was just brought to, sometimes we as Christians, we believe that when we pray, sometimes God puts feelings in us. And you know, I just felt so devastated that night, you know, really, really sad for people who don't know the promises in the Bible, you know, that don't know that it's not all on them, you know, that you can turn to God. But you know, I had a qualm with God because I said, you know, look, I'll bring this message of hope to them. But God, I've got this credit card, you know, that we can't really seem to get rid of, you know. So what's the story with that? But you know, I still trusted him. But I kid you not, the next morning someone texted Mark and they said, can we have your bank details? And Mark says, Bernie, do they owe us money or something? What's going on? And I said, no. And he said, do you need us to do something? They said, no, look, we just feel strongly to, can you just give us your bank details? And you know, we thought they'd blessed us with a lovely meal before, and we thought, oh, maybe takeaway tonight, you know. And well, later that day, the exact amount to cover our credit card was put in, the exact amount, and that was the day after. And you know, I prayed to God because I expect any message I bring to you guys, I bring it out of I wouldn't expect you to trust a message that I haven't experienced and know to be true myself. So that's why I chose to share that with you. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I do hope that brings you hope, anyone out there. And you know, tomorrow's theme will be a bit similar, so if that's touched anyone listening, Just with regards to the rest of your reading, you'll be moving on to Luke today. I hope you enjoyed your reading yesterday. It's the story of Jesus's birth. Can you just be thinking about maybe things like, who did God choose to witness the birth? And what does that say about him? And I'll give you a psalm and a proverb as well to read. All right, thanks for listening, everyone.